I mean, I don't need them, but they're 75% off. I just popped in for some pool salt. Wasn't going to buy any plants, but 75% off. Hey, what's up, garden friends? Jeff here. So, hope you're doing well. I'm great. I'm at Home Depot. I don't know how much filming will actually be done here, but I mean, I know y'all love the bargain shopping. Well, I don't even, what's the price? I think it was ridiculous to begin with. What does it say? 70. Okay. So that makes them 17 bucks. That's pretty good. And I love a spindle pump. They're just the best. Eventually they get way too big and heavy to move in and out of the house, but that takes them several years. And they can take a good amount of cold, at least compared to, like, you know, those awful Majesty palms that are over there. Ugh. Okay, I need to find a flatbed. Should have done that to begin with. Oh, yellow stickers. Those are only $10 off. That's not as exciting. I was at Lowe's the other day and they had more of those Thai constellations, nice big ones, for like $14 on clearance. They were all eaten up from the sun. Yeah, they're monsteras. They'll recover from that. What's going on? They don't usually have plants outside like this. That's weird. Club Buster. $30 is a deal for a little deliciosis, huh? If you say so. 50% off over there. Alright, flatbed. That's always the challenge. It's fine. Oh, look at that. There's one right here. Okay. Music's a little loud. Private jets flying over. Maybe I'll just grab the salt and see how much room is going to be left for palm trees. Oh, this is a nice cart. Usually the flatbed's a little bit rickety. This one's got some nice glide to it. Do you want to see the rest of the plants over here? It's fall. I don't know if there's much to look at, but I don't really know until you look at it, right? Yeah, emerald greens, of course. We got is this a white pillar and purple pillar in the same pot? Rose of Sharon, the hibiscus? No, it's just supposed to be white pillar, but it's got them both in there. That would normally bother me, but for some reason I'm kind of into it. I like that color combo. Same thing going on over there. Huh. Interesting. Might be something to consider. Got some hydrangeas here. Little lime, I'm thinking. Yep, little limes. Great plants. Man, these buddleias have nice big pots. Holy crap, look at these. That is a massive pot for this thing. Huge, 5-gallon. Yeah, that actually looks a little bit larger than most 5-gallon pots. Really pretty. Here are the purple pillars over here. 30. I didn't even look. I assume these are 30 also, and it's just a mix-up, having the two different ones in the containers. I go back and forth with Rose of Sharon. Rose of Sharon are very nice plants, but these are even cheaper, $26.98. They're just so late to flush out in the year. That's my only hesitation with them. They grow really well in this area, but you gotta wait a while, kind of like the mimosas, for them to flush out with some growth. And I really like things that flush out earlier in the year. But I have enough other things in the garden at this point that flush out earlier, so maybe that's not that big of a deal. The pillars are great because, you know, you can squeeze them into a tight space. So I don't have a ton of Rose of Sharon anymore because I don't have as much sun as I used to. I used to have these all over the place. I used to love the various hardy hibiscus of all the types. And lost the sun. But a pillar type would work. I just never wanted one because I wasn't crazy about the white or the purple. But for some reason when you put them together, I'm like, oh, well, that's chaotic enough that it might work for me. Oh, Spring Grove Arbs. I need to keep my eye out for those too. Or a green giant. I need one that's a decent size because I lost one over the summer. So this one, it is much more of a purple hue, but that's probably just because the flowers aren't opened all of the way. Looks like that comes down to here. And the white one's over there. Same thing with that one. Huh. I'm thinking about it. I'm not thinking. I'm just going to get it. I think that's nice. Rose of Sharon also. They're good to zone 5. I don't know what their tag says. Maybe they have different information than what I'm used to from many, many, many years past. I haven't read up on a Rose of Sharon in a long time. Yeah, zone 5 through 9. Good. They're going to need part to full sun. They're not going to grow and flower very well if they don't get a lot of sun. But I have one that's very, very old. And it is shaded now by a big maple tree. And its growth is now splayed because it's reaching for sunlight. But it still blooms every year and it's not rotting away, not having any problems with it. Just not as dramatic of a display as it used to have. They're tough and versatile. I like that. North Poles. I don't see the spring groves around that often. Oh, you're only $10? Well, obviously it looks like garbage. Of course it's $10. Nice. Torch. Hardy hydrangea. Alright. That kind of their spin-off of a quick fire. Bloomin' Easy torch. Really nice red color. Look at that. I wonder if these hold on to that red color during the winter. I was thinking that this was a panicle. But it looks... Is that a serrata? I really can't tell from that picture. I don't really know what's going on here. You need better pictures. That's a panicle. It's a paniculata. Unlicensed. Propagation prohibited. Alright, so someone's named this. Those are kind of cool. Not so much a bargain. This time of year I tend to mostly just go for clearance plants unless it's something I need for a fall container. The heck is that thing? Okay, whoa, that was... I meant to cut the camera, sorry. It has a banner or something. No, it doesn't. It's just a helicopter. I was looking into the sun. Can't see things when you're looking into the sun, right? Oh, cat palms. I love cat palms. Really pretty houseplant palms. Nice and elegant. Still think Kentias are better, but these are much more affordable and usually a lot easier to find. That nice clustering habit. They won't outgrow your home typically, so they're a good option. What a little baby bird of paradise and $9.98 hostas. No, don't do it. I've told myself to be very selective about my hostas. I used to grow a lot of hostas and then changed out a garden bed where they weren't working anymore, and now I would like to only replace hostas with varieties that I absolutely love and not just willy-nilly grab them, which is what I was doing before. Lots of trees. See, they still have some of the Tina crab apples. Those are nice. These stay really small. So if you want a small crab apple, I think these are a 10 by 10. Right? What does it say on here? 4 to 5 feet high. Oh, I was way off. Well, it's a graft too, so you got to take that in mind. They're very small. I think 10 by 10. What was I thinking of? Well, I see them a lot around here in like parking lots and things, and people flank their berms with them. They look nice. These don't look so hot. These need to be put on clearance. They've had these since springtime. I'm sure they'll go on clearance again. They were a while ago, and that's when I bought my other two. Kind of weird not seeing any... Oh, cart got stuck. Not seeing any green giants. Those are typically really popular. Just a whole bunch of the emerald greens. And then lots and lots of trees. Oh, okay, here we go. Let's see here. Oh, these don't look good. I don't like these. What's going on with you? I think it's scrawny. Look at the trunk on it. But it has absolutely no width. It's just a great big stick. For $90, huh? Well, no, I don't think so. That's not going to work. So I had 2 spring groves that I keep in planters during the wintertime, and one of them didn't fare so well this summer. So I was like, okay, well, I need, at least to keep having 2, I need to find another spring grove that's the same size as the one that I have now, which is going to be tricky, or just get a green giant. So they have the same appearance in a container. Alright, I think that's the gist of it. I know. It's not terribly exciting because it's fall. There's not a ton of fall stuff around here. $45? That's pretty good. Yeah, because this one's a decent size. It's nowhere near as big as the one I need to replace, so it's about half the size. So it would probably make sense just to buy the one that's twice the cost that will actually match. So, I don't know. We'll figure it out. I like some of these things to go on clearance. Look at these. Throw it up from the sun. These would be perfect. That's a lace leaf. Good growth habit, just somewhat ate up from being in the sun. It was hot. That happens this time of year. The dappled willows are pretty too. I love that look with the dappled willow, then the Japanese maples and some yews. Bring one of those blue spruces over here. Oh, it'd be so nice. Okay, well that's enough. None of this was on the agenda. I was just supposed to be getting pool salt. Pick up back at the house and, I don't know, do something else maybe. What's that face? Are you about to do something? You're up to no good. I can tell it. He wants to get in the pool. Did I just see, there was something, I swear I just saw something flying right by my head. Hopefully just a butterfly. There've been a lot of butterflies out here. They're loving the, almost said summer, the fall garden. migrations and whatnots. Yeah, I mean, you knew I was going to get this right. I had to. I just think that that's going to be chaotic and fun, having 2 different colors on one plant. I mean, it's not one plant. There's like 4 different plants in here. And I'm not seeing it on this right now, but there were some flowers that were white and pink. They had really pretty pink. Well, you can kind of see a little bit of that in there. Yeah. Those things just happen. I wouldn't expect it to keep that up, but it's cool. There are so many plants out here. I have been pulling on this. I pull and I pull. We do this constantly, just ripping and trying to get this stuff out of here. It's growing too fast. Autumn clematis. It's a Japanese clematis, and it is very invasive. And I battle it every single year. This year I'm losing the battle, sort of. I mean, it's really bad right here. I've got it under control around the rest of the yard, which used to be the issue, is that it used to be everywhere. However, if this goes and does its thing, and you can see where there's some old flowers in there, then it's going to start seeding itself all over the place, and then, well, it's just going to have another disaster on my hands, right? Will spread itself around absolutely everywhere. I don't really need to be doing this right now, but it's just been bugging me. I need to figure out something new with this rake, too. That's not working, and that's no reason to keep that right there. Okay, want to see some new plants? I got a whole bunch of new plants. Some you all have seen, some you did not. I'll get them moved back and can see them better. Kind of. Well, the sun's going away, but I'm going to do the best that I can. Trying to think, where are we going to start? Y'all already know about the Rose of Sharon and the Spindle. I mean, you just got a glimpse of everything in the driveway. Let's go over there. So we've already seen all this. Potentially, we'll have seen all of this. I say potentially. Look at them. Look at them. And they're just beautiful. All this on clearance. Gotta love that. So, I don't remember what I did and didn't talk about when I was at the Home Depot. And that's, well, for one, that was like 3 or 4 days ago for me. And also, you know, I talk quietly, right, when I'm out in public, filming in public. So I'll just reiterate, spindle palms, Sansevieria versatility. I love these palm trees. They tend to do very well for me as houseplants. They are long-lived. The biggest downside to them, in my opinion, is that they get extremely heavy when they get bigger. These are related to the bottle palms, which get those really big, bulbous trunks on them, and because of that, they get heavy. I like spindles better than bottles, though, partially because bottle palms are really finicky with water. If they sit in water for very long, they just rot. You don't want a spindle to sit in water either. But with a bottle doesn't even have to sit in water. They'll just rot. They do not like to be overwatered. Okay, neither do these, but these aren't just going to die on you as quickly as a bottle palm will with too much water. These are also slightly more cold hardy. I usually can leave my spindle palms out into the upper 20s. I prefer not to, but I have in the past. There have been circumstances where we had an unexpected freeze, and they survived. There was some damage, but the core of the plant stayed strong. They pushed out new growth. And here we are, years later, can still talk about it. It's happened a few times. Because of that, I usually leave them out longer than some of my other palm trees. Just, right around the time we get light frost, I like to move them inside. Spindle palms, with the right amount of sunlight, they take on a really nice orange color on the inside. This guy right here has some deficiency. That's okay. Going to hit it with a palm fertilizer. Get that straightened out. And when they get that orange color, they're so pretty. Belts them all over the place. I'm so sorry. I'm just excited about the new palm trees. It's that orange color that makes me love them so much. In fact, that's one of the reasons that I love coconut palms so much. The dwarf Malayans, and over here I have a red spicata, similar vibe to it, where they get that really nice golden orange tone to them. And I love that contrast. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Beautiful enough to the point where, just a regular green coconut, they don't really do anything for me. To me, it's all about having that color contrast. And they're easy. So I have another spindle over here. I got this so many years ago. I'm going to be smacking at mosquitoes a lot, so pardon the shaky camera work. I don't know. Probably 3 years ago. So that's not so many, but a few. And it was little. It was like maybe a foot or two tall, and I bought it because I just well, this is adorable. I haven't had to do anything with it. I finally gave it a repot this spring. It did get knocked over in the garden. I had this set back in the garden. It got knocked over, and I didn't realize it. It looked like it was still standing up because it was leaning on top of something, but it was at a slight angle, and because of that, well, now it's got this wonk going on. It's all right. That will straighten out. I pulled it out, but that's why everything's doing this, because this side was laying on top of something. I didn't realize it. Things have gotten very dense in here. Yeah. But again, tough. It doesn't even matter. Look at how cool the trunks are, too. Even when they're small, little juvenile plants, they have really pretty trunks. You can see more of that orange on this one, too. If it's been out here getting more light, it can get much more vibrant than this. Their crown shafts take on a really good coloration. You can kind of see it in here. Look at that. It's so pretty. There's hints of purples and pinks that go in there into the oranges and everything with the green. Again, more light, more color. Just cool looking plants. They come down with a bulbous base. Someday this is going to be really big and swell up, and it'll have a smooth ringed trunk on it. And that is when I no longer like them because it's too much to move in and out of the house. But that's several years down the road. They are slower growing than a lot of other palms, but that can be a good thing when you're talking about palms that you want to keep in the house, right? They aren't going to have so much growth that you have to move them to a different part of the house, or a greenhouse or something, like an Alexander palm. This thing was only 6 feet tall not that long ago. Maybe 7-8 years ago, maybe, I don't know. Hasn't been that long. The Spindle's slower than that. The downside to that is that when there is damage, you have to be more patient, waiting for that to grow out and fix the plant up, but they're pretty sturdy palms, so damage isn't really an issue. You have to deal with all that often with them. In the wintertime, what I do with my Spindles is, I don't know, probably not going to be relatable at all, but I keep them in my garage, which is my grow space. It is heated, but I keep them typically on the end that's closest to the garage doors, the cool end. There's also not much lighting over there. This one spent all winter there last year, and I hardly even water them. The majority of the water they get is just water that's going to run underneath them when I water everything else. They have a chance to wick up some moisture that way, and then I will splash them with water occasionally. And that's because they're on the end where the lights aren't directly above them. They don't have as much of the heat because they're near the garage doors. My garage doors aren't very well insulated, so they're more on the cool side. So I'm trying to avoid rot with them during the winter time. When I have kept them in the house, so 68 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit is about what the household temperatures are like, I generally give them a small drink during the winter time. I say that specifically winter time because the day lengths are shorter, thus less light. No matter how bright the window is, the days are just shorter, so I don't water them as often. Probably, I would say, maybe every 2 to 3 weeks I would give them a good drink, like a furrow. We'll just let it flush through all the way. I said furrow flush through is what I almost said there. And like I said, that's about every 2 to 3 weeks, never letting them sit in standing water. As the day lengths get longer and as temperatures increase, say if I were to move them outside, when they're outside, if it's over 80 degrees, I would say, then I'll just water them every single day, no problem. But if we're having temperatures that are below 70, I want to back off on that. So that is one thing with this palm. There are other palms like a bamboo palm where you can water them on a consistent basis during cooler temperatures, and they'll usually be okay. Cooler temperatures meaning indoor temperatures, so like 50 degrees, somewhere in there. The Spindles, the cooler it is, the more careful you got to be with that water. They want as much light as you can give them, but if you're growing them like I am, where they're only going to be inside for a few months out of the year, say 4 to 6 months, then I don't stress about the light quite as much with them. I just have to remember to be really careful about my watering because they're not going to have anywhere near as active of a growth since, I'm not giving them a ton of light. My house, there are only a few windows that get a lot of light. So when I have kept them in the house, it was in this window over here, which is southwest exposure, and a few feet back from the window. And they always did really well there. Even though they do like it humid, I haven't noticed them to be ones that get the brown tips very, very quickly when they're in the house. And I think that's partially because their pinnae is fairly thick. The pinnae, that's the pieces that come off of this midrib right here on the frond. Pinnae, which is, what is that, ear? I think that means ear? I don't remember, but it's nice and thick. And because of that, they just seem to hold on to moisture longer. I mean, they'll get little brown tips like that, but that's not something to fuss over. You gotta calm down if that's bothering you. That's just plants. They're not going to be perfect. If they're getting a lot of brown, once that starts to come down, I would say 1/2 inch to 1 inch, then I would start to wonder about if they're getting too much airflow, or if the humidity is just too low, or if they're being underwatered. They're not usually that particular about tap water, so I wouldn't really worry about that. They even have very slight salt tolerance, so even some salt buildup shouldn't be that much of an issue. And in a container, I don't worry about salt buildup because you can flush that out so easily. That thick, waxy frond, beneficial in the sense that I don't usually have issues with pests on these. I have had to deal with spider mites on them before, but that's just because sometimes I have to deal with spider mites on everything. Just part of it. They like things and they enjoy palms. But they tend to wipe off very cleanly. They blast off very cleanly. Scale is something to watch out for, but I don't know, they're not pest magnets. That's right. At least they never have been for me. I like their form. The form that these things have is nice because you get that crown shaft right here, which is, we'll call it a trunk. It's part of the trunk. It's not just something like a majesty palm where you just have great big leaves, big fronds all over the place, and, well, nothing else to it, right? These look like they have a trunk, because they do. They have a crown shaft. There's going to be a trunk on them someday. Just more stately and cute and fun. The only thing that I guess isn't the best with them is they don't offer you that palm tree in the wind sort of thing. They don't blow all that well with the breeze. It has to be a pretty strong breeze because they tend to have really stiff foliage, but you get some movement out of them. But it's not as graceful as, say, with like the king palms, the Gossia palms, Alexander's Adenidias, you know, all those more common pinnate from palms. Ooh, just had a hiccup. Okay. Well, this just turned into a video on taking care of spindle palms, didn't it? Wasn't really my intention. It's supposed to be a vlog, but I think I'll probably cut all that out and post it into a different video for people who just want to know only about the spindle palms. So I guess while I'm doing that, then the only other thing to talk about is fertilizer. I like to use an, well, you can use an all-purpose. I like the grape palm fertilizer. Works really well, but really any palm fertilizer is fine with these. I only do it when they're actively growing, and I'm not great about it. I typically just give them a little bit of fertilizer at the beginning of the growing season, which for me is going to be around early May. That's when temperatures start to be consistently warm. And that's usually it, but they get hit with liquids and things like that, all my palms. You know, I give them the same fertilizer all across the board. I don't have anything so specialized that I have to do anything special with them. So, yeah, that's it. Repot every so often. I'd say every 3 years or so. Not going to be one of those plants where you got to repot them every single year. They will grow more quickly, typically, if they have a fresh potting media, so that's something to think about. It just needs to be something that drains well. Organically rich is always a plus, but they're not fussy. The main thing is that it drains well, and that's really all you got to worry about. You can use a palm and cactus mix if you would really like to, but typically just an all-purpose potting mix is fine. But if you live someplace with a lot of moisture and you're going to have these outside, then it wouldn't hurt to add something to that to make sure that drainage is really sharp. And then I suppose if you live someplace hot and dry, then you could do the opposite thing and just be like, hey, it's really dry here. I'm in, I don't know, Phoenix, right? It's okay if my potting mix is going to hold on to moisture for a couple of days. It's nice and hot out, and they can hack it. These guys also can be pretty dang drought tolerant in the ground, which is just an awesome feature with these, because they really can do a lot. They're very tough palms. The majority of spindles that I see for sale have these exposed roots on top. You can see all 4 of these have that going on with them. That's not a big deal. That's just because of shipping. The soil gets knocked out of the top, so I would recommend, if you're not going to repot them right away, to fill that back in, because you don't want those roots to start to get too woody. Because once they start to get woody, it's not a great idea to cover them back up with soil. It can be done. You just got to do it slowly. I really didn't give all the deets I should have when talking about repotting these guys. So with everything, I say don't repot it until it needs to be repotting. So I'm not really on a repotting schedule with my plants, but a lot of them tend to just come up every other year with needing to be repotted at the same time. With a palm like the spindle palm, I would repot these based off of their growth and moisture retention. I have seen spindle palms for sale before where they're like, maybe in a pot this big, which looks like a 10 or 12 inch container. I'm not sure. It probably says on the tag 12 inch. Yeah, it's a 12 inch container where they could be like 7 feet tall. And that pot down there, it's really just something to keep the roots dark, but there's nothing going on there. It's just roots, no soil. At that point, they're just, you know, completely filled the container out, and as long as you water them, they seem to do okay. But it's not ideal. That's not going to lead to having the healthiest plant. So if you start to notice the plant lifting itself out of the container, you're seeing a lot of surface roots, so roots coming out the bottom of the pot, both of those things, and slowed stalled growth, even though you're fertilizing and watering the plant, then it might just need to be repotted. They don't need to be bumped up into anything drastic, even though the nurseries these days are selling very small palm trees in extremely humongous containers. The spindles don't need that. There are some palm trees where they don't take to being repotted well, so it's a good idea to go ahead and bump them up nice and big when you need to. These, they're fine with it. You can repot them. They're not going to throw a fit. I really appreciate that these are fast enough growers where if they do end up not looking great after spending a winter inside the house, that they can bounce back in a single season. There are other palms that do well in the house, like the Kentia palm. If it has a rough winter in the house, or just if anything happens to it and it ends up defoliating or losing even 50% of its foliage, you're going to wait a long time for them to flush out with enough new growth to look good again. Whereas the spindles, they will easily put out, if you live in a nice warm area for the summertime, I mean. So where I am, we have really nice hot summers. They will easily put out 5 to 6 new fronds during the summertime, assuming that they're getting the water and everything that they need to grow at their ideal capacity. I don't know if I said that right. You know what I mean? If they're healthy, even if they have some issues, they'll rebound from it and look good with not too much time. Don't have to wait all that long. All right, that's enough about the spindle palms. I'm going to cut that. Comment down below whatever you have to add to it, some of your favorite houseplant palms. And tips, tricks are always appreciated. And I'm going to move on and talk about the rest of the plants that I picked up today. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that will have been in another video at some point. Probably in this one, if you're watching the vlog. Foxtail palm. So I was at a local nursery and their tropicals were 50% off. And I thought, well, this is pretty cute. I actually liked it from the moment I walked in and saw it, but I didn't know they were 50% off. When I saw the 50% off sign, I circled back and said, I'm going to grab that. I don't know why. It's just a foxtail palm. I think there's something cute about whatever's going on down here. And it's got like a chunky little nub of a trunk starting on it. I don't know. It's a foxtail palm. I'm not going to go on as long about the foxtail as I did with the spindles. Really, pretty much everything I said for the spindles applies to the foxtails, except for the foxtails, spider mite, mealybug, scale, magnets. That's my experience as far as growing them as a houseplant. That is. But they still make good houseplants. Just really got to make sure. I like to use a wet mitt. If you don't know if you've ever seen the car washing mitts that have all the spongy stuff on them, I'll stick my hand in a bucket of soapy water and both my hands and go through and just comb these things. Put a tarp down, comb through them, do it to each frond. They rarely, for me, have more than 4 to 5 fronds on them in the house at a time. And then I'll do that with clean water. Again, do it with neem if you need to. It's the best way I can do things to get enough coverage in here because there's just so many gaps and cracks and nooks and crannies for the critters to hide. Excellent palm for indoors, though. Way better than the Adenidias, right? They're sold everywhere. At least around here they are, but man, the Adenidias just suck as houseplants. Foxtails do a lot better, but they do grow quickly. So you gotta have space for them. You know, within a few years, they're usually too big for my ceilings in the house. But it's, I don't know, what, 5 years? Probably 5 years, and that one won't be able to go in the house anymore. All right, let's move on. It's gotten darker out. I think that's okay because look at what that does for the lighting here on this cabbage. Isn't that beautiful? This is a purple, where'd it go? It's not even called purple. Ruby Perfection. I buy one of these every single year. The nursery Greenscape here in St. Louis, they always just have the biggest, most beautiful specimens of these. There's a hint of, well, kind of a pinkish red on the inside and this lovely steely blue color to them. You can see the coloring on the veins on the inside. I need to take my fingers off of there. Look what I did. Ruined it. You got to be careful with the fingers because you'll ruin it. I'm not going to go all out with the cabbage and the kales and everything this year, but I just wanted just one really nice one. If I do come across some kale that have some good color to them, then I might grab those, but I typically don't see that around here. I don't know if our growing season's just too warm leading into fall, but it's just not as common to find the really big kales for sale that actually have good color. They're usually just big and green, even though they're supposed to be like green and white or green and purple. It's not usually the case, but I got the one because I love it. I also grabbed these two little guys, which, well, this is just a wire vine. I just love wire vine, and I wanted another one. There's not a great reason. It's just they look nice. That's it. I enjoy their appearance. I like all the little leaves. And they're tough and sturdy plants. Look at this guy. This is the Little Prince plant right here. And it is called Fit for a King. Rare and unusual plants for intrepid gardens. Yeah, it's a Ligularia Pandora. And look at that picture. Do you see that? I'm hoping that the foliage does end up being that beautifully glossy and black. Oh, you can see when you look at the picture. Get in here and hold my finger still. There's some green in there, but I like the color on that. And there are other dark foliaged Ligularias. Like I have one, what is it? Britt Marie Crawford, I think is what it's called. It's a very common one. Has a really nice reddish Merlot color to it. This one right here is going to be smaller than that one. It only goes 24 inches high. It's zone 5 to 8, and you can see if there's the description. Bold and beautiful, compact clump of glossy, round, deep purple bronze leaves. Showy, large, yellow, orange, daisy-like flowers emerge in the summer. Yeah, ligularias have really pretty flower heads on them in late summer. I enjoy looking at them. They look kind of like a Rudbeckia. With just like big yellowish flowers with dark centers on them. Very pretty. A nice perennial. I liked it. I liked it a lot. We're going to see what happens with it. And look at this one. It got a little crispy. It got a little bit crispy. The air's been really dry and it just doesn't rain here anymore. I was looking at the 10-day forecast. Nothing. Not a drop in sight. We did have 2 days of rain about a week ago. It wasn't a lot of rain, but it was better than nothing. That's about the most rain we've had in months. It has been unbelievably dry late summer into fall. Usually October is wet. However, when we have when we have a dry beginning to October, that typically means that late October, it's just like from then until the first week of November, it's just rain. So it got dry and I missed a watering, but it still looks pretty dang good, doesn't it? It is just a beautiful fern. This is my pot. I've just set it in here. I was thinking that this might look nice in this container. I said might look nice. This might look nice in this container. Isn't that a pretty pot? Yeah. I'm trying to gather myself together. It's not that easy to find really big, lush ferns around here. I'll see the Boston ferns and macho ferns and queen ferns and, tropical houseplanty ferns, but not something like this. This is a brilliance fern. It's an autumn brilliance fern, which is a very common fern. These do very well here in the winter time. I could plant it up and keep it outside, but I was kind of thinking it might be fun to try this one as a houseplant. I've never tried to grow one of the autumn ferns inside, and they're so sturdy outdoors. I don't really have a reason to think that they wouldn't do well in the house either. See that color they got on them? Yeah, it was kind of pricey, but I just never see ferns this big at the nurseries. Not the perennial types anyways. So I went for it, but it is the Drapterus Aretha Franklin dinosaur. What's going on here? Erythrosaura. Brilliance. I've done entire videos on these before. They get this beautiful color to them in the cooler temperatures, usually in the fall time, and then really mostly in the springtime when they flush out with new growth. Where I live, 6B, 7A, these can be evergreen to semi-evergreen, just depends on the winter, but they usually need a good cutback right before they flush out with new growth. They start to look really crummy towards the end of winter and into the beginning of the springtime. I can read it. The perennial fern with lush, finely textured fronds that emerge coppery red in spring, mature to green, and turn bronze in fall, used in shaded borders or woodland gardens. Yeah. It's just a really pretty fern. One of the more sturdy ferns at that. These go about 24 inches wide to 20 to 24 inches tall, and they're hardy through zone 5, which is minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm not aware or familiar with anybody having talked about these needing any type of dormancy because they can be evergreen. And I'm pretty sure that this is a native here too. Drapterus is, I think it is. I'm not positive. There's so many freaking Dryopteris and just ferns in general. So they do well in our area. It would be a good fern to plant out into the landscape, but I also I want to try it in the house because it's just so lush and lovely and beautiful, which is why I have it sitting in this container because I like it in this pot. I think that that's a nice blend. I'm looking at the inside at the mess from this missing one watering, and I'm starting to think, I don't know. It might be messy. It's not going to be as messy as a Boston fern. And Boston ferns usually do well for me in the house. I've noticed the trick for me, surprisingly, with the Boston ferns in the house is I don't water them very often. I'll let them dry out. As long as they're in a humid area of the house, they do okay. If you live someplace with an arid environment, I wouldn't bother. They're just going to drop. They're going to be so messy. You have to water them nonstop. Maybe a self-watering container might help, but if the air is dry, they still are just very finicky. This one, I don't know. I've never tried a brilliance fern in the house before, so it'll be an experiment, and we'll find out. I'll keep everybody updated. I like the idea of this being a houseplant because, well, it's non-toxic, and my rabbit's foot fern, which is not the same as this at all, but those do great in the house, and they live a very long time. But they have the support, or the fallback, I should say, of having that extra thick rhizome to spread themselves around with. So, if they dry out for too long, they have something nice and meaty to rebound from. These don't really have that. Oh well. We'll find out together. It's a nice, big, luscious plant. I cannot wait to get that in the house. Okay, here's the last one. I'm so freaking happy about this one. Look at that foliage. And it is sturdy. I shouldn't say sturdy. It's firm. This thing has been in this container for a minute. It is rooted in very well. It's a Sayuri Sansevieria. See that? I'm not covering the price. Oh, that was a great price. I've talked about these on the channel before, but it's been a while. I had one years ago, and I don't remember what happened to it. I think it got overwatered. It like fell behind something in the grow space, and like there was a puddle of water. I didn't realize something happened with it. And I wasn't that bummed when that happened, because I thought, well, it's okay. These are common. I can find another one. Because the one I had before I got at Home Depot, this one is the first one I've seen since then, when that was like 6 years ago. So I, of course, nabbed it up. I thought $40 for one this big and this full. This is huge. The Sayuri is my favorite of the Dracaenas, or what is that, Trifasciatas types? Is that, just the regular mother-in-law tongues, I think? I don't know. It's my favorite. I absolutely love it. I think they just have a really nice, calm variegation to them. There's something about them that looks very, very clean and welcoming. And they're just such great houseplants. This one's not going to go into the grow space. I'm going to keep this in the house. I'll just keep it up on the counter where the cats can't get to it. I'd like to find a nice container to put it in. And maybe cash pot it, perhaps. It could use a repot, but it's a Sansevieria. It's not going to do anything if I don't. It'll be fine. I just think it'd be a lot easier to water this if it had some more some more space to work with. This is going to be very tricky to water during the winter time. But again, it's a Sansevieria. I really won't even be watering it very often during the winter time anyways, right? Gosh, look at that color. Look at it. I guess lack of color. It's a lot of white in there. But it's just a good variegation. I have another Sansevieria that I talked about, repotted in a video. Not too terribly long. It was called like Bantel Sensation. Might have been Bartle Sensation. I don't remember. Similar vibe to this, but instead of having just a solid variegation all the way through on the leaves, the outside edge is a deeper green with some mottling of yellow, and then they have that variegation in the center. And some of y'all in that video gave me some feedback that they tend to flop a lot, and I have noticed that that one for me, it doesn't want to be a nice tight growing upright plant. This one, I've never had that issue with the Sayuris. Also just realized, I don't know if I'm saying that right. It could be Sayuri, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's Sayuri. Uri, I'm not sure how you're supposed to say it. But it's Sayuri. Fantastic house plants. Don't let them sit in water and don't overwater them. They'll live for a very long time. Just don't let them ever be too wet. You won't have any problems with them. As excited as I was to grab these spindle palms, I gotta say I was more excited about that Sansevieria, because I've been trying to find a new one for years, and you could order them, but it was something I wanted to pick out in person. So I was really happy to see that at the nursery. It was right by the checkout. I just barely got to see it. The spindles, that was a lot of hand. Sorry. Spindles, I got excited about because, well, they're my favorite palms. And these used to be fairly easy to get a hold of. But over the last several years, I don't know, maybe around 2018 or so, I stopped seeing them for sale quite as often. At least, up here, up north, I wasn't seeing them. And it was something where you would usually see them come in the wintertime with a random shipment of other palms, like the place, by place like Lowe's or Home Depot, would get in some Majesty palms, maybe a few Spindle palms, and like some cat palms. It was just one of those things where you had to be lucky and they might get in a few of them, and they would usually show up as assorted palm trees, and they would usually be about this size, actually usually a little bit bigger than this in a 10-inch container, and they were normally like $15 to $25. I always thought that was a great deal, but you didn't see them that frequently. And then a few years passed and I just didn't see any of them. And then over the last few years, they're starting to become more common again. Like, I'm seeing them a lot of places, but the price has been astronomical. So expensive. These are like $179 at one of the nurseries around here. I think regular price, I remember, what did they say? $70 at Home Depot is what they were asking. And I ended up getting them for, it was 50% off. And then there was another discount that I wasn't aware of at the registers. These ended up being, I think, $10.50 a piece. What a deal. Oh, I love it. I know some of you are going, Jeff, what are you going to do with them during the winter time? And to that I say, don't worry about it. They're tough. I can put them all over the house. They're going to be a low maintenance and easy. Or I can just keep them in the grow space along the dark edge of everything. They might get some brown foliage on them because of that, but it's okay because they'll flush out with some new stuff and look great again by like mid-June next year. So there's a lot of options. They're really tough. In fact, I'm probably going to keep a couple of these at Bay's house. Bay does not water plants. It's just not going to happen. And I think that this would do very well for a person like that. I'll be around enough where I can make sure it gets a splash of water every now and then during the winter time. There's a really sunny area in the house that's rather cool also during the winter time. It'd be fine. I could just let them hang out there. It's a little sunroom, atrium kind of place. Be great for them. Okay, well, that was fun. This is probably going to be longer than I had anticipated for a Wednesday video. Assuming this is going to come out on Wednesday. It's going to have to, because my Saturday video is going to be all about getting the palm trees out of here. So, yeah, that's probably what's going to be going on. Tomorrow, I'm going to start digging up plants and moving things around to get the palm trees ready to go back to the greenhouse for winter time. Yeah, I'm glad to have some new stuff to play with. That's always fun, especially things I'm going to really enjoy having during the winter time in the house. All right, comment down below. How's everybody doing? What's going on in your gardens? Your experiences with those spindle palms or the dryopteras? Have you tried their brilliance ferns in the home? I don't really know why you couldn't grow them in the house, because like I said, I don't think these have to have a cold period, so they might benefit from a cold period. You know what I mean? If it is the case, you just put them someplace cool for a couple of months. I doubt it would have to be any longer than 60 to 90 days at the max, and start them up again. I think it's gonna be okay. We'll find out together. I said that over and over again. Okay, hope everybody's doing well, having a great day, great life, and everything's going absolutely beautifully for you. And of course, as always, and most importantly, everybody, keep on growing. Bye.